The drums stopped, just before midnight. No one knew why. The dancers froze mid-step, and the moon, bright a moment ago, hid behind a thick cloud as if afraid to watch. A cold wind swept through the village of Ogbunike, carrying whispers that sounded like hissing. They said something strange was happening in Eric's compound. Eric, the handsome one, the rich one, the man whose smile melted every woman's pride. His house stood at the edge of the forest, built with red bricks and a charm above its gate. But that night, the charm was gone. A scream tore through the stillness, sharp, desperate, and then silence. When the villagers rushed toward the sound, they found the door wide open, and the scent of something strange crawling in the air. Inside, the floor was wet, slick as though something had slithered across it. By morning, Eric was gone, and the woman he was last seen with, Ngozi, the trader's wife, was never seen again. The elders gathered beneath the ancient tree and whispered, "Whatever hides behind that man's beauty, it is not flesh alone." And from that day, no woman could sleep peacefully when the moon turned red. Before that dreadful night, Eric was the pride of Ogbunike. Tall, fair-skinned, with a voice deep as thunder after rain. He wore white wrappers and gold bracelets, and his laughter echoed through the market like music. Women, young and old, followed him with their eyes. Men envied his wealth, yet smiled when he greeted them. He came to the village 5 years earlier, from nowhere anyone could name. He said he was a merchant from the north, dealing in rare oils and charms. No one questioned him much, for he gave freely, wine to the elders, food to the hungry, gifts to the children. But his charm carried something dangerous, a sweetness that poisoned quietly. Every woman who went near him swore she felt seen, adored, chosen. And yet, after he lay with them, their laughter dimmed. Their eyes grew distant, like people waking from a deep dream they could not explain. When the first girl fell ill, the healer said it was spirit exhaustion. When the second lost her voice, people began to whisper. But by the time the third was found at the riverbank, staring blankly at the water, the whispers turned to fear. Still, Eric smiled. Still, they came to him. Eric's house was unlike any other in the village. Behind the main hut was a smaller one, locked, silent, forbidden. He told everyone it was his shrine, a place of private prayer. But at night, strange sounds rose from within, the heavy dragging of scales, the low hiss of something alive. One evening, Amora, the chief's daughter, curious and fearless, decided to find out what Eric was hiding. She waited till he left for the market, then slipped into his compound. The air was heavy, thick with the scent of palm oil and something darker, something reptilian. Inside the small hut, she found carvings on the wall, women's faces, carved in pain. In the center of the room stood a large earthen pot, covered with red cloth. As she reached to lift the cloth, the pot trembled. Something inside shifted. A voice whispered, deep, smooth, almost human. "Leave, before he returns." Terrified, Amora fled, tripping over the threshold. But as she ran, she saw something on the floor, long, pale scales glistening in the lamplight. She knew then. Eric was not just a man. He was something that shed its skin. The next full moon rose crimson, heavy, like an omen. And that night, Eric's door stayed open. One by one, women were seen walking toward his compound, faces blank, steps slow, as though drawn by a song only they could hear. Mothers tried to stop their daughters. Husbands barred their wives inside. But still, they went. And from the forest edge, the elders watched helplessly as the line of women disappeared into his hut. Moments later, the hissing began again. Low at first, then rising like thunder beneath the ground. The roof of Eric's hut shook. A red light flickered through the windows. Then came a scream, a chorus of them, sharp and fading, until only silence remained. By dawn, the ground near his house was cold and damp, marked with large serpentine tracks leading into the forest. No one dared follow. But old Mama Efima, the seer, said softly, "The python has awakened, and its hunger is not for flesh alone." Long before Eric came to Ogbunike, there was a tale told in another village, of a spirit who took the form of a handsome man. He moved from town to town, seducing women and feeding on their souls through touch and desire. Wherever he stayed, crops failed, and rain refused to fall. Only when the villagers drove him out with fire did peace return. Some say Eric was that same spirit, reborn, disguised, searching for new prey. The marks on his back were said to look like scales, his eyes glowed golden when the sun hit them just right. One night, a hunter from the next village saw him at the river, kneeling by the water, washing himself. But what the hunter saw beneath the reflection was not a man's body, it was a massive serpent coiled in the river, its eyes burning through the surface. He ran back to the village screaming, but by morning, he was found dead, his body cold and dry as though drained of life. And from then, the people began to call him not Eric the Handsome, but Eric the Serpent Man. 4 days, the sky refused to shine. Rain fell endlessly, thin, cold, unwelcoming. It was said the heavens were trying to wash away what Eric had done, but even the rain could not cleanse the evil that lingered. Women began to vanish. One after another, quietly, without struggle. At night, their names echoed through the wind, Ngozi, Amaka, Ifunanya, as though the forest itself mourned them. The elders gathered once more, lighting fires beneath the sacred tree. They poured libations, asking the ancestors for guidance. And the flame flickered strangely, curling into the shape of a serpent. Eric, said the oldest elder, is not of woman's womb. He is a child of the river spirits, an abomination. But who would face him? Who dared? Even the bravest hunters avoided his compound. That night, the rain grew louder, and from Eric's roof came the sound of scales sliding slowly, steadily, as if something enormous was waiting above. A single woman's scream split the night. Then, silence. By morning, only her wrapper was found, hanging from a tree branch like a warning. Among all who feared Eric, only one woman stood her ground, Obianuju, the herbalist's daughter. She had once loved him, once lain in his arms and felt the coldness of his touch seep into her bones. But unlike the others, she lived. And across her shoulder was a scar in the shape of a fang. People whispered that she had escaped the python's full hunger, that she carried part of his secret. When she returned to the village after months in hiding, her eyes were different, dark, steady, as though she had looked death in the face and survived. She went straight to the elders and spoke. If we do not stop him now, he will drain every woman in Ogbunike before the next moon. The elders trembled but said nothing. So Obianuju took matters into her own hands. She began gathering herbs, powders, bones of river birds, and stones from sacred ground. Each night, she burned them before Eric's gate and whispered words older than memory. And one night, as she chanted, she saw his shadow moving behind the curtain. It wasn't human anymore. It crawled. It hissed. It watched her. Desperate for power strong enough to defeat Eric, Obianuju traveled to the river Idemili, where it was said the spirit still spoke to those who dared listen. She went alone, barefoot, carrying nothing but a calabash and a single white feather. The river was quiet, too quiet. The water did not flow, it shimmered, waiting. Then, a face rose from beneath the surface, half woman, half serpent, with eyes that glowed like wet gold. "Why do you disturb the deep?" the voice asked. Obianuju knelt and said, "Because a creature of your kind walks among us, feeding, killing. I must end him." The spirit smiled slowly. "End him?" she hissed. "You cannot end what is part of us. But you may bind him, if you are willing to pay the price." The river darkened. Waves rose, swirling around her. When the water finally calmed, the spirit was gone, and in Obianuju's hands was a small clay bowl, sealed with blood. A warning whispered in the air. "When you open it, he will come for you." Obianuju held it close. And without a word, she turned back toward Ogbunike. The villagers decided to distract their fear with a festival. Drums echoed again for the first time in months, deep, powerful, desperate. But even amid the laughter, people glanced nervously toward the forest, toward Eric's silent house. Then, as the moon climbed higher, he appeared. Clad in a flowing white wrapper, golden bracelets glinting in the firelight. His smile, gentle, disarming, made hearts tremble. "Why do you hide from me?" he asked, voice low, soothing. "Have I wronged my people?" No one spoke. But then, Obianuju stepped forward, holding the clay bowl wrapped in cloth. "Eric," she said, "you've taken enough. Tonight, you will take no more." His smile faded. For a moment, his pupils narrowed, thin, serpentine slits. The ground shivered beneath him. The drums stopped. And the night filled with the sound of a deep hiss, ancient, hungry. Women screamed as the fire blew out, plunging everything into darkness. And from the shadows, something huge uncoiled. When the fire flared again, what stood in Eric's place was not a man. A massive python filled the square, scales shimmering like wet bronze. Women screamed, children fled, the ground itself groaned. Obianuju raised the clay bowl high. By the river that bore you, return to the depths. She smashed it down. Red smoke burst upward, twisting, binding the serpent in rings of light. Its roar shook the huts. Release me. Obianuju, the creature cried, half man, half beast. Tears burned her eyes, but she whispered, the river will keep you. With one last hiss, it sank into the cracked earth. Silence followed. Only his golden bracelets remained, glowing faintly in the dust. The people cheered. Drums resumed. Children danced. But as Obianuju turned away, the bracelets rattled, softly, though no wind blew. And deep beneath the soil, something shifted. 3 nights after the serpent's fall, peace felt strange, too light, too sudden. The villagers slept early, relieved. Only a small boy named Chaik lingered near the sacred tree, staring at the golden bracelets lying in the dirt. They glimmered like eyes. He bent down, touched one, and it twitched. Chaik gasped, pulling back, but a faint hiss echoed from the ground. By dawn, the boy was gone. His mother found his wrapper at the forest edge, wet, as if dragged through slime. The elders ordered the bracelets buried far from the village. But Obianuju could not sleep. She dreamed of Eric's face, smiling sadly beneath water, whispering, you cannot bury what you loved. When she awoke, her palms were wet with river mud. And across her wrist, a faint pattern of scales had begun to form. Obianuju went to the river again, desperate for answers. The water was calm, too calm. She knelt, whispering, River Mother. I did what you asked. Why won't he rest? A ripple spread. The spirit's face rose, beautiful, terrible. You bound him, child, it said, but blood answers to blood. You opened the bowl with your life's breath, his essence is tied to yours. Obianuju staggered back. You mean? I carry him? The spirit smiled. He sleeps inside you. The python seeks a host, and you were chosen the moment you spoke his name in love. The river darkened, hands of water reached for her ankles. Break the bond, she pleaded. The spirit's laughter echoed, to break it, one must die. Either the man within, or the woman without. She fled, heart pounding. That night, her dreams were filled with hissing, and Eric's whisper, you cannot kill what is already part of you. At first, the villagers noticed only small things. Frogs gathered near Obianuju's hut. Goats refused to pass her doorway. And her eyes, once brown, now caught the light like polished amber. In the market, women whispered. Perhaps the serpent left something inside her. But no one dared say it aloud. When another woman disappeared, the fear returned. Footprints led not to Eric's old house this time, but to Obianuju's doorstep. She denied it, trembling, yet her tongue felt heavy, her breath slow and cold. That night she found herself at the riverbank without remembering how she walked there. The water glowed faintly. A reflection rose, not hers, but Eric's face, smiling. Let me in, it said. And when she turned, a trail of scales glistened behind her in the sand. The council gathered once more beneath the sacred tree. The curse is not broken, said the oldest man. It merely changed skin. Some demanded Obianuju be banished. Others pitied her, she had saved them once. She begged, please, help me. I feel him inside my dreams. I fight him every night. But the elders shook their heads. This is beyond herbs and prayer. Only the river can reclaim what it owns. They decreed she must undergo the washing rite, a dangerous ritual to separate spirit from flesh. If it failed, her soul would drown. She agreed. Before dawn, she burned her hut, leaving nothing behind. The villagers watched silently as she walked toward the forest path, white cloth wrapped around her body, the same color Eric once wore. Under the moon, the river shone like silver fire. 4 elders stood by with drums muted. Obianuju stepped into the water. She carried a small gourd of palm oil, a knife of stone, and her courage. The ritual began. She poured the oil, it floated in bright circles. Then she cut her palm, letting blood drip into the current. Spirit of the serpent, she whispered, I return what you gave me. The water churned violently. A hiss rose from beneath the surface. Suddenly, her reflection twisted, half woman, half serpent. Pain tore through her spine, scales shimmered along her arms. The elders backed away, chanting frantically. Her scream split the night, but beneath it came another voice, Eric's, laughing softly. You opened the door again, my love. The river exploded in white foam, and Obianuju vanished. For 3 days, the river turned black. Fish floated belly up. The air smelled of iron and sorrow. The elders forbade anyone from fetching water. On the 4th day, the current cleared, and a woman crawled out. Her skin was pale, her hair streaked with gold. She looked like Obianuju, but her eyes were not hers. Where am I? She whispered. The villagers rejoiced, thinking she had survived the rite. They didn't notice the faint hiss beneath her breath, nor the golden bracelet gleaming once more on her wrist. That night, she stood before her mirror bowl. Inside, Eric's reflection smiled. Now, he said gently, we are one. Days turned to weeks. Crops failed again. Men began dreaming of snakes curling around their wives' necks. Obianuju, or what wore her skin, walked through the village, graceful and silent. Wherever she passed, birds stopped singing. She visited widows at night, offering comfort. By dawn, their huts were empty. Only a trail of scales remained on the floor. Old Mama Ifema, the seer, confronted her. Child, what lives inside you is not love, it is hunger. The woman smiled faintly. Then hunger shall love the world as I do. The seer spat on the ground. Your end will come with fire, not water. Determined to end the cycle, Mama Ifema gathered the youths and the hunters. They carried torches soaked in palm oil, chanting ancient war songs. They waited until moonrise, when the air thickened with the scent of rain and scales. Obianuju emerged from the trees, calm, almost tender. Why do you come with fire? She asked. To cleanse what water could not, the seer replied. As flames surrounded her, the serpent spirit screamed through her body. Her eyes glowed, her voice split into 2 tones, his and hers. Burn me, or burn yourselves, she hissed. The hunters held their torches. The forest erupted. But when the smoke cleared, nothing remained, no body, no ashes, only melted bracelets and the echo of laughter drifting toward the river. Months later, peace seemed to return. Children played again, women fetched water without fear. Yet sometimes, at dusk, the river rippled though no wind blew. A trader once claimed he saw a woman's shadow beneath the surface, golden eyes watching. He fled, swearing the river whispered his name. The elders sealed the story, warning, let the past drown. But every new moon, the sound of hissing lingers between the drums, soft, like breath against water. Years passed. The tale of Eric and Obianuju became a warning told to children by firelight. They said, beauty that dazzles too easily hides teeth. Desire, when fed without control, turns to hunger that devours the soul. And when the rain falls hard on Ogbunike, the elders listen closely. For sometimes the thunder sounds not like thunder, but like a serpent laughing beneath the river. Moral. Beware of love that asks for nothing. For it often intends to take everything. And that is how Ogbunike learned that not every love story ends with a heartbeat. Some end with a hiss. If this tale sent chills down your spine, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. For more dark African stories, where every secret has a spirit. And every spirit has a price. Turn on your notification bell. So when the next story rises from the river,